Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Joe. Welcome back to SNES's Life Recap episode number 41, I think we're at. And this week we're covering Bob, Kawasaki Caribbean Challenge, Dungeonmaster, Vegas Stakes, and Mario is Missing. First up, Bob. This was a pretty standard platformer. You're a little robot insect looking dude who basically wrecked his car on his way to a date. And now you've got to murder everything on this asteroid you wrecked on to find a replacement vehicle to get to your date. For the most part, the game isn't bad. The graphics are pretty passable. Music and sound is okay. The gameplay's a little stiff, but the game wasn't super difficult. It was entertaining the whole time I played it. I do vaguely remember it from my childhood. Not well, but I did kind of remember it. So, it's a totally passable platformer, and I enjoyed my time with it. It's password save, but that's okay. You get a bunch of different weapons. The levels are fairly varied. There's not a lot else to point out about it. The game's not bad. I gave it a thumbs up. I don't think it's one that I would chase down, but if I ran across it for, $5 or something, I'd pick it up. It's not bad. And totally worth playing. So, thumbs up for Bob. Next up, Kawasaki Caribbean Challenge, or Caribbean, or however the hell you want to pronounce it, is a dual racing game. So you're racing either motorcycles or jet skis. You can see right here the jet ski level. It is all top-down racing. There is not... It's pretty zoomed in, so it's hard to kind of anticipate your turns. At least in the water level, it doesn't tell you, but on the motorcycle racing levels, there are arrows on the ground to kind of, tell you that it's coming, but it's still kind of difficult. Basically, anytime you hit a wall, you pretty much stop. Bouncing off other people will slow you down. The music was, if I recall, not like they had music in between, but the races themselves had no music. The graphics were okay for a top-down racer. It just wasn't good. Like, it wasn't fun to play. I didn't enjoy myself. As far as racing games are concerned, I don't think we've liked a top-down racer yet, except for Super Off-Road. And that's a top-down, but it shows you the entire track. This and, F1 Grand Prix, I think it was, and Cyberspin. And they all suffer from the same real big problem, which is top-down, zoomed in, hard to telegraph your turns coming up, hit a wall, and you stop. So, not a fun game. That's a thumbs down on Caribbean Challenge. Next up was Dungeonmaster. This is a ostensibly role-playing game, first-person, walking through a dungeon. These are great. It's a first-person shooter style game. You're not a shooter, but these games excel with a point-and-click mouse and keyboard. The Super Nintendo does not have a mouse or a keyboard. The graphics, as you can see, are pretty basic. This looks like a game that was ported over from maybe Windows 95, Windows 93, perhaps even DOS or something, You walk around this dungeon. This first section, you're basically walking around, and there's like 20 or 30 character portraits. And you can pick any of these 4 characters to be in your dungeon party, and then you go downstairs, and you just go deeper and deeper into this dungeon. The music was almost non-existent, and what was there was very, very quiet. The sounds were pretty basic. The graphics were rough to look at. Gameplay wise, like I said, it doesn't control particularly well. It has a neat system where you get runes that you have to build your magic spells with, but the combat is real time. So while you're sitting here trying to put the runes together to cast a spell, the enemy's hitting you. It just did not play particularly well, unfortunately. And it wasn't good. This was one of the very few handful of games that I ended up quitting after about half an hour. I think in 200 games, we've only quit 3 or 4 of them before putting our hour into it. And this was definitely one of them. Dungeon Master, hard thumbs down. It's a pass game. Next up was Vegas Stakes. Vegas Stakes is a casino gambling game. They have a bunch of different casino games. You got slots, blackjack, roulette, craps, and 7-card stud. Basic as it gets. It's gambling. The graphics are completely passable. The music is average at best. The gameplay is gambling, so it plays like the Vegas games would. It's not hard. It's completely fine if you want to spend your time on your console playing Vegas gambling games. I can't say that that's my ideal thing to do with my free time on a video game. I would rather play a platformer or something with a goal in mind. But it's a totally fine game, and I gave it a thumbs down on the fact that I don't know that it's worth chasing, but it's not bad. There's a caveat to that. It's not a bad game. It really isn't, because it's Vegas games. It's hard to screw up. It's just not something that is probably worth chasing down or finding. So yeah, there's you go. Last is Mario is Missing, widely regarded as one of the worst Mario games in existence. Right behind like Hotel Mario or Mario Teaches Typing or Mario Fun with Numbers or Mario Preschool. I think there's another one. So what I loved about this game was the intro, basically. Mario falls through a hole and just face plants into the ground. But this is Luigi's first outing in his own game. Apparently the Mushroom Kingdom somehow connects to the real world. And Bowser and his Koopalings came and stole a bunch of like precious monuments and things. It's an edutainment game. So in the 90s, edutainment was a big thing. You know, if you were going to make games, you had to make them educational. That's the era of all the TV cartoon shows, you know, knowing is half the battle and stuff at the end of every show. You had to learn something. So they made edutainment games. You run around different cities, finding 3 artifacts in each city and returning them to the historic places in that city. You get Yoshi eventually. You have to get Yoshi to get rid of the Spiny who's blocking the exit pipe. After you beat, I think it's 4 or 5 worlds. I think it's 5. Then you have to fight a Koopaling. And then you have to repeat the process in 5 more cities. And beat a Koopaling. And repeat the process in 5 more. I don't know how many you have to beat until you actually get to Bowser. I remember beating this as a kid and enjoying it as a kid. And much in the same way as Vegas Stakes and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego or Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, the game is completely passable. It's a fine game. The controls are fine. The music's fine. In fact, the music in this one changes based on the city you're in, which I thought was neat. So it's kind of got a cultural music tone to it, which being an edutainment game, I guess isn't that surprising. But it's okay. Is it super fun? Arguably no. Thumbs up? No. I gave it a thumbs down. It is not a great game as far as long-term entertainment value goes. It's fine for what it is, and as a kid I remember enjoying it. And I played it for the hour. I enjoyed my play of it, but it's just not something that I'm going to recommend people go out and play. That's all there is to it. So a thumbs down for Mario is Missing. And that's it. So there you go. 1 thumbs up out of this whole set of 5 games is a real shame, but that's okay. Sometimes that's what you get. At least it wasn't 5 thumbs down. So thank you very much for popping in on the recap here. We'll see you next time with the next set of 5 games. Have a good night.